crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
The penetrator. Come on, look, because I always went the farthest into the target, goddammit. Libya, Tunisia, Lebanon. It was me, pal. I was always first in, last out.
This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation. It'll fight if it has to. But it's vulnerable out in the open.
Its blood was on the leaves.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Warning, this live stream is going to have some effed up and repugnant shit in it. If you are squeamish, viewer discretion is advised. All right. Son of a bitch. I can't believe I had to do that. All right. So, to give a little backdrop into why the hell we're doing this, for the last 3 to 4 weeks since December, since middle of December,
somewhere around there, yeah,
we have been talking about going over the Monday Night Wars, because this is an era in the 90s of wrestling that Zero and I both love. We are still going to do that. However, we're going to wait a little bit and we're going to let some shit calm down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an 80s kid. I grew up in the 80s. I loved wrestling. Hulk Hogan was the man. Eat your prayers. Eat your prayers. Take your vitamins. Right? Say your prayers. Take your vitamins, little Hulkamaniacs, brother. Right? Okay. Ooh yeah, Macho Man's Randy Savage reaching out from the grave to Slim Jim, telling him, "Screw Vince." And that's exactly what happened over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I loved wrestling. Hogan versus Piper. Dave G sound right there, dude. Hogan versus Piper. When Piper showed up, what was it? Was it Halloween Havoc? I'm pretty sure it was Halloween Havoc. Macho Man Randy Savage versus Hollywood. Hulk Hogan for the title. NWO versus WCW. Hulk Hogan won, beat Macho Man. Macho Man's laying there on the mat. They're spray painting him. They're all laughing. Hee hoo. When you hear the drums. And then the bagpipes come in and Hogan's like, oh, cool, thanks, guys. And then Piper comes out and his mouth drops and he's like, oh, shit. And everybody went, holy shit, they got Rowdy Piper.
Damn right.
And he came out and he was like, let me tell you something, Buttercup. I'm the only man you never got the chance to beat. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Hogan's like flailing and flipping out, yada, yada, yada. So, yes, Hogan versus Piper, Ultimate Warrior, all that, you know, all that fun stuff. Thunder Lips versus Rocky. That's right. Thunder Lips versus Rocky. I grew up loving this stuff. Mm-hmm. Nothing will top Undertaker and Mankind in a hell. Mick Foley is one tough son of a bitch. And it was a mistake. WCW made a huge mistake letting him go, saying, no, we're not going to let you do these crazy things.
Well, I mean, you know, considering when Mick Foley was employed by WCW at the time and he was attempting career suicide, whoops, can I say that word? Career death, you know, by having Vader backdrop him on the concrete there because he just wanted out. He wanted nothing more to do with it. But, you know, he goes to WWF and the rest, as they say, is history with Mankind, Dude Love and Cactus Jack and all that. And Chainsaw Charlie, R.I.P. Terry Funk. How that guy lived so long, I have no idea. But bottom line, folks, consider this a taste of things to come before we go too off the rails, reliving our glory days.
Didn't Hogan, as Mr. America, manage to call him out? Yes, he did. It was a lie detector. Mm-hmm. They had him hooked up to a lie detector. He called him a sleazy, no good, POS, perverted old man. And he was like, no. And it was like, you know, he lied. Yes, he did. It was Hulk Hogan as Mr. America. Yes, he did.
In a wonderful angle that ended up going nowhere, but yeah, it is what it is. But real quick, guys, before we get into the nitty gritty here, I do want to say one thing, and forgive me for rambling on about this.
Woo! Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I know it had to happen once.
It had to happen,
and somebody
Stalin and profiling. Okay, you get the energy. We know our shit. We yes, Stalin and profiling, limousines and women and yeah.
Good
okay.
God. So somebody also suggested I do the entire show in the voice of Dusty Rhodes, baby. But
Dusty Rhodes.
But oh man, I do want to say this for those of you that have read the documentation out there or know the gist of what's going on. I know around here, you know, you got to love our energy and our camaraderie. And, you know, every one of us here laugh and joke, sometimes at others' expense, sometimes justified, sometimes not. But I do want to throw this out there that regardless of how this whole proceeding ends up, whether it's true or not, or falsified, or somewhat accurate, regardless of how it ends, I do want to say this is still a very real world thing that does go on far too often. And there are real victims out there, present accuser included, regardless of how the case ends up. But these are things that do happen. And some people are not in a position where they can defend themselves for fear of retaliation, ramifications, or anything like that. Or they're just simply too afraid to speak up. So I just want you all to know I do take this seriously because this is a very real world thing that affects tons of people out there who can't afford to speak for themselves. So in light of the humor, I just want to throw that little disclaimer out there because, this is a very heinous thing that is occurring.
Okay. So, if you didn't know, Vince McMahon, there are allegations again for the umpteenth time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I have heard the argument that this happens to millionaires. Obviously, I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff that can happen to millionaires, but there is a definitive pattern of what these women have said happened. The NDAs, Stephanie McMahon's own actions every time, especially the last time she stepped down when he came back, she had to deal with all this. So I want to be, when your own daughter comes in and sees all of these allegations, all of this stuff, she saw all the NDAs. So this is before, this isn't now, this is the last time all of this came up. Stephanie came in, she saw all the NDAs. They went through everything that he had paid out, $14.3 million. And apparently there's more. So apparently there's more. There's going to be more coming out, that there were more of these NDAs and more payments paid out.
Mm-hmm.
When your own daughter sees that and says, I'm going to do this job, but you're never coming back. And then you come back and she immediately leaves. She resigns. She didn't get kicked out. She didn't get pushed out. She resigned. She left.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, nope, not working with dad. There is something really crazy going on here that leads me to kind of lean towards the fact that she was so distraught and just like, this is what I have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
I have to clean up my dad's shit. You're almost 80 years old and I have to clean up your shit. Get out.
Yeah.
That leads me to go, you know what? I'm kind of taking credence in this, and I'm kind of going, I don't think it's all bullshit. Some of it may be exaggerated. That's what he is claiming. He's saying that a lot of this is fictional, that it's taken out of context. That's his defense. He's gonna have to go to court. He's gonna go to court.
Oh,
he didn't pay this woman. So there's a 67-page report. Happy Dinosaur 8K. Happy day to you. I hope you have a good one, brother. Thank you. It's a 14-month member chat. Thank you guys for being members, because it keeps the lights on here in Valhalla and lets us do what we do each and every week. We are doing this each and every week because we love it and we care about it, and it drives us in the morning just as much as it drives you guys. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. There's there's a lot going on to unpack here, but I mean, to reiterate,
hold on one second.
Okay.
Christopher, I'm not saying she didn't. I'm not saying she did. I'm not saying she didn't bring woke bullshit. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is that she left because of the shit that she had to deal with her own father. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying she made the company better or worse, or her and Triple H did whatever. I'm just saying that she left because she was dealing with her dad shit. Go ahead, Zero.
Yeah. And the hush money, and with her coming back, we'll get to that, because there's a lot to unpack with that too. But we can go back to TKO's statement, McMahon's statement, which was quoted as saying, "I wanted to inform you that Vince McMahon has tenured his resignation from his positions as TKO executive chairman and on the TKO board of directors," said Nick Khan in a staff memo. Nick Khan is also the president of World Wrestling Entertainment. He will no longer have a role with TKO Group Holdings or WWE. And Vince went on to reiterate that his quote, "This lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made up instances that never occurred, and a vindictive distortion of the truth. He will vigorously defend himself." So yes, Vinnie Mac is going to obviously lawyer up and probably take this to whatever extremes he deems necessary. But I find it funny, not haha funny, but you mentioned, Stephanie coming back after she resigned the first time, when the quote hush money reports started coming out, when Vince McMahon made Ms. Janelle Grant sign that NDA, which she was allegedly forced into signing, with McMahon stating that he would continue to financially support her after her tenure with WWE was in fact terminated, or she resigned, due to the publicity that was going to get out with her relations between her and Mr. McMahon. But the hush money, the lump sum of $1 million was in fact wired to her bank account in the agreement that was signed by both parties, that he would continue to front another $500,000 to her and more subsequent payments after that. That $1 million was in fact wired to her account. And then McMahon stopped payment. And then these new allegations started to trickle out, and then everything just kind of snowballed from there. And the funny thing, again, not haha funny, but the funny thing about that is when Stephanie came back, and I'm not saying she's responsible for this or not, but when she came back after she stepped down the first time to be a part of that quote special committee that was investigating said hush money reports and the NDAs and things like that, the plaintiff, Miss Janelle Grant, made herself available, agreed to cooperate, but she has also stated that during their entire quote investigation into where the hush money came from, what was going on with the whole thing, she stated that she was never contacted. She was never asked to provide any documentation. She said she was willing to cooperate, and therefore they determined that the entire hush money investigation, which took place, about a year ago now, that entire investigation was a sham.
And this is why you do not have your daughter doing the investigation of your illicit whatevers. This is why you do not have your family involved in covering up your scandals, because family is emotional. Family doesn't want to deal with this shit. As his daughter, I'm sure she didn't want to talk to, meet, discuss, whatever, someone that he may or may not have done all this shit to. She saw all of this. So the report we're going to get into, Stephanie saw all of this. This is why I brought this up, and this is why I was very clear about this to begin with. The reason why Stephanie left and the reason why Stephanie came back, and Stephanie leaves again once Vince comes back, she saw all of this. So whether it's true or not, your daughter is leading the discussion of the investigation of your impropriety. Okay, so even if she's not on his side, she still doesn't want to deal with this shit because it's her dad. You do not have someone like that in charge. You bring in someone from the outside that has no relation to any of them. And I'm completely blown away that Jerry McDivitt, which is Vince McMahon's lawyer, and has been Vince McMahon's lawyer forever, didn't tell anybody this. Didn't tell, listen, you need to take a back seat. Let someone else be in charge, And yeah, I'm sure even if he did, it was, well, it's my time now. And then she got pushed out anyway. So it's a conflict of interest no matter how you look at it. Even if she's like, I hate my dad, blah, 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 I think he's a POS. It's still her dad, and she doesn't need to be the one dealing with it.
Yeah, especially when she resigns the first time, when, all this stuff starts to surface. And then McMahon is, quote, forced to, or, retires on his own accord around the same time when all this stuff is coming out. And then Stephanie steps in as interim CEO, basically takes over the reins of the ship there. And then she leaves. Vince, still being primary shareholder in WWE stocks, says, well, I'm coming back. And then he resigns again. And don't worry, we'll get to Johnny Ace soon enough. Yeah, because he was the other one who was specifically mentioned by name in the 67-page court document. It was him, a, quote, WWE superstar,
which everyone is assuming is Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, again, not that I know for sure, so I'm not name dropping anybody, but Vince McMahon, old Johnny Ace, John Laurinaitis were the two mentioned by name in said document. In addition to that, there was, quote, WWE superstar, who people assumed was Brock Lesnar. Not that I'm here to assume anything.
Well, but one of the big things is he was supposed to be at Rumble. He was supposed to be at Rumble the other day, which I believe was day before yesterday. Was it Saturday?
Saturday, yeah.
I remember when all the pay-per-views used to be on Sunday. So,
well,
Saturday,
they probably don't want to compete with the NFL playoffs until those are over.
And he didn't show up. So that's one of the things that they basically called Lesnar and were like, yeah, don't show.
Yeah.
We're going to do something else.
If those rumors were true, it would have been in his best interest not to be there.
Lee Mangaba. Now you didn't miss the roll call this morning.
No. we kind of glossed over that, but so in addition to the rumors that Lesnar was involved, and the several other superstars and people in the production company, or, quote, tech crew, as McMahon liked to refer to them as, there were also what does the document say here? Let's go right to the source.
Zero's got it pulled up, so yeah, we're gonna go straight to the.
So in addition to the nameless WWE superstar, John Laurinaitis and McMahon, both mentioned by name, and several other WWE superstars who Mrs. Grant was apparently passed around between, there are also people referred to in the document here and referred to as WWE. Wow, that's hard to say after reading all this. WWE corporate officer number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these were probably most likely high-ranking officials within the company. And therein lies the other issue that was going on between the multiple accounts of sexual misconduct and harassment and trafficking and exploitation that was going on through her whole tenure within the company from 2019 to 2022 until McMahon stopped payment. And that's when all this came out. So that's the other big piece of that iceberg underneath, that the whole other half of this thing is the fact that she was being exploited during her entire tenure with the company, and all these high-ranking officials and numerous employees within the company failed to do anything about it. Let me
address something real quick,
because there's
for anyone out there that's like, but Loki, Zero, why would he not pay the hush money that he's supposed to be paying? It's a contract, right? She signed a NDA saying I can't say shit or bring this up. If you pay me, why wouldn't he pay her? Well, there is a long history of Vince McMahon pointing at the people under contract to him and saying, you're under contract. If you screw me, I'll sue. But then when he wants out of a contract, he just stops paying. He did it to Bret Hart. He did it to Hulk Hogan. He's done it to multiple talent under contract for years. He has done this. He has cut his way out of contracts and just not paid. When we're talking about Bret Hart, he straight up told Bret, I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to pay you for the rest of your contract. I don't have the money to pay you. It's going into this and this. You might as well take the deal with WCW and I'll let you out of your contract.
Mm-hmm.
Bret asked for less money and he still wouldn't pay him. Under contract, Bret could have sued him. Turn around and sued him.
Yeah. And the other, the other half of that was, Brett was willing to take a pay cut there, but Vince said, well, I'd like to sign you long term, which ended up being something like 20 years worth. And Brett was like, dude, my body can't do this forever, but, apparently the two had come to an agreement so Brett could go to WCW and shit like that. But again, that's a whole other can of worms. That's a story for another time. But we all know, yeah, Brett screwed Brett, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you mentioned the pattern of behavior, and yes, it's public knowledge. Anybody can look this up these days. If you are interested and you haven't seen the court document, it is there on the internet for anybody to see. It's public documentation. But the history of behavior leads me to, and the weird thing is, sorry to get off topic here, but going through the documents and the images in there and the graphical, and again, I'm going to tiptoe around this because some of that stuff in there is pretty rancid. The text messages that were shown, I don't know.
It's like, I own you. I'm the only one who gets to bang you. I'm the only one who gets to tell you who's going to get to bang you and all that shit. Yeah. There's a lot more than that, but my goodness. The way the punctuation and complete lack of grammar skills that were used in said text messages kind of makes me shudder a little bit. I mean, shit, I'm half Vince's age and I don't even type anything a fraction that looks like that. So I'm thinking, are we to believe that an at the time 77, 78-year-old man is going to send messages like that? But again, from a completely outside, unbiased, perspective, it's a little bit odd. I mean, one example here, am I allowed to say this? I'll blank myself. Here's a proposed text messages that was sent from, quote, WWE superstar to Vince's phone, and Vince then captured this or worded it in his own way and sent it to Mrs. Grant. Here's what it says. Okay, hold on real quick. Mrs. Grant is an employee that worked for Vince McMahon.
She's the accuser. She's the one who made the allegations. Yes, this is the whole court case thing. So WWE superstar apparently said, well, this is on Vince's phone. Vince apparently texted her with the following. Here's what redacted said after I told him that part of the deal was, again, I apologize. Part of the deal was fucking you. LOL, that's your turf. She will be ruined after me and leave your ass. Plus, after me, your tool won't fit anymore. That's the tamest thing I can find. That I can
like throwing a silly straw down a hallway.
Yeah, I mean, you've got other things on here, things coming allegedly directly from Vince saying those compliments will keep on coming, baby. Just wait and see. I totally understand and agree of you being scared of communication and photos. John Laurinaitis. Johnny gets drunk and sloppy and could easily make a mistake that could cost him his job and yours too. Verbal communication is the way to go. That said, have you and Johnny talked about breakfast tomorrow? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's numerous things in here.
Now, hold on. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine you're talking to your boss? And I will just say that she herself admitted that she was hired while Vince McMahon sat in his underwear on a couch. So he sat in his underwear on a couch. He was just in his underwear doing her job interview and hired her. This is who she went to work for. I wouldn't even do that. You're in your underwear? Maybe I'll come back. Well, if you come back, you're not going to have a job. Then I don't need the job.
Yeah,
I mean, imagine your boss talking to his employees about drilling you out, hollowing you out, and getting just a big kick out of it. And they're actually doing this, okay? There's a difference between guy bravado, oh man, I'd love to tag that, and what we are talking about here. If the text messages are fact, if these text messages are real, this is some dark shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, there's a whole lot going on. I mean, from day one, allegedly McMahon was making it very clear that he was promising her a bright future. I mean, she had just lost her parents. She didn't have a job. So he had promised her to find her work, to give her promotions, to give her her life back, so to speak. So her entire case, well, not the entire case, but the whole process of their relationship was based around the fact that he was intentionally grooming her for sexual encounters, sexual favors, and which later on turned into trafficking and exploitation, and for lack of a better term, pimping her out. That was a term that was used in the document as well. McMahon pimping her out to other members of staff, members of the production team, other WWE superstars, and big old Johnny Ace. Yeah, there's some stories in that document that really go into graphic detail about what the two of them allegedly did to her numerous times, sometimes together, sometimes separate, sometimes with toys. Yeah, it's rough. And I'm just going to gloss over this, guys, but it really starts to.
So you've got the 67-page report right there in front of you.
I do. And I'll tell you what, by page 4, I was already shaking my head. And I will quote this directly, and forgive me for this being graphic, but this is on page 4 of the document. I read through the whole thing. This is page 4 of 67, Article 20.
4 of 67.
Yes. As one example of McMahon's extreme depravity, on May 9th, 2020, he defecated on Miss Grant during a threesome and then commanded her to continue pleasuring his, quote, friend with feces in her hair and running down her back while McMahon went to the bathroom to shower off. Upon his return from the bathroom, McMahon and his, quote, friend actively resumed the threesome, which lasted over an hour and a half while Miss Grant remained covered in McMahon's filth. When McMahon's friend left, McMahon ordered her to stay and to continue to sexually gratify him. And folks, it gets worse. That's page 4. It gets worse. But the entire document just basically goes over all of her recollection and accounts of what allegedly took place during her entire 3-year employment within the company, all the while McMahon grooming her for exploitative and sexual purposes. But yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg, folks. That's 3 years worth of material. And yeah, so again,
I don't think anybody's ever shocked Keely Chow before. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. And again, I do apologize for the graphicness, but it's a public document. If you all want, if you're interested, you can go and look it up. It's really easy to find. It's not a big secret. It's not a secret at all. It's public court documentation. It's out there. So if you're curious and you have some time to kill,
S asks, how can it get worse, Zeropium? How?
Oh God,
it can get worse. So
yeah.
I read this over the weekend. Zero obviously has his copy pulled up.
Yeah, it does get worse, but I won't go into those details. It's just too much. But really,
what skeletons did China know? China knew a lot about the business. I think the problem with that was more of what happened with Triple H. It destroyed her.
Yeah.
What happened with Triple H destroyed China.
Mm-hmm.
She was a competent to the point that she believed Triple H when he said, "There's nothing going on. I love you." And then when she found out that that was not the case and he'd been diddling the boss's daughter, that destroyed her.
Yeah, it was rough. And then, of course, she falls into substance abuse and all the other traumatic things that often plague a lot of our dearly departed WWF, WWE superstars and legends. I mean, China was an Amazon, like real life Amazon. But
they get access to all of this. You guys don't understand. if you've watched some of the real documentaries, Dark Side of the Ring, there's a couple of different documentaries you can go through. I want to see this in Dark Side of the Ring. I want to see all of it. I want it all brought to light.
Mhm.
But I don't know if that'll ever happen or not. I honestly doubt it will. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of, it's an open pharmacy for these people. Okay.
Mhm.
It's not like me and you. Me and you guys, we go down, we've got a problem with the doctor's office. Doctor might give us a little prescription. Oh, here's 20, blah, 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 or something. And that's what you get. These guys, they just open the doors to the pharmacy and say, choose. It's like Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid when he takes Daniel-san out to the car after he's waxed and washed him, and he's like, choose. That's
Mhm.
exactly what they do for these people. They
Yep.
walk into the pharmacy with them and they're like, take whatever you want. That's the way it was with the steroid abuse. That's the way it is with the painkillers. They get away with this shit and you pay the price, because then it's like, well, you know, we're cutting off the general population from getting this shit when they need it, but they can still have access to it and get it whenever they want to.
Yep. That's a dangerous.
Mahogany draws with $5 super chat. Off topic. The spoilers been revealed and it's all over Twitter. We're burning this down next because I'm pissed. Yeah. So Harley Quinn, like I said, shoots Batman in the eye. I didn't see if she pissed on him or not. That's what I was. That's the information I was given. That is why my posts were banned on Steam, because I called them out and they said, "Oh, spoilers! You dropped a spoiler." Yes. Guess what? Harley Quinn shoots Batman in the eye after she pisses on everything the Dark Knight stands for. So Machini's coming up with that next. Thank you, Machini, for that $5 super chat, brother. You guys keep the fires burning bright here in Valhalla, and this one's just for you, Mike. Skull!
Woo! Really quick, Kizio975 also asked, sorry, I didn't get to this earlier. Any other people getting charged? Well, like I said, that all depends on the other nameless people who were mentioned. There were 2 other officials mentioned in the document by name.
Vince hasn't been charged yet. There's a lawsuit.
Yeah.
That is happening. This is a civil lawsuit. This is not a criminal case yet.
Yeah.
This could turn into a criminal case. They could very well, I mean, this could very well be the next, I wouldn't say Epstein, but who's that shitty ass director that won all the awards and caused the Me Too movement? And I'm so
Weinstein.
shit with Weinstein. This is the next Weinstein.
Yeah.
He could very well be the next Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, it could happen. But there were several in the document not mentioned by name. There were a few more who were mentioned by name. So if this turns into a big internal or external, which is what it needs, a big external investigation into WWE Incorporated as a whole, including the 2 people that resigned after Vince stepped down and all the others that were around and all the others that came back when Vince came back. All those people will likely be investigated, possibly. I'm not a legal expert, so take this with a grain of salt. But everyone who was mentioned by name, everyone who was not mentioned by name in that document will likely have some role to play as this proceeds to roll out over the next coming months, I'm sure.
Let me get Arlena's comment here. No, not yet. You have to understand something, Arlena. This is trafficking. This is on another level. It's not, I don't think it's going to stay a civil suit. They're going to have to do something about it. This is going to shift.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of those, we've got the entire report. They're going to have to take a statement from this woman. I would not be surprised if in a year from now, he is not either on the way to trial or in the middle of trial, something. I could be wrong, I'm sure there's legal experts out there going to be like, Loki, they won't do it because blah, 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 blah. But I guarantee you the DA is being pressured to look at this and take it because of what it implies he did.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about a statement, the statement's out there, all 67 pages of it. That's going to go through the whole proceedings. So, I mean, they're going to have to take that. They're going to have to do their investigation. And again, it's a civil suit right now. So, I mean, maybe, let's say the best case scenario for Vince, he lawyers up like he will, and he loses a few $1 million in the process. But since this included things such as sex trafficking and exploitation, and again, sorry for lack of a better term, gangbangs and violation and pain and suffering, not to mention the PTSD, which she now is claiming to have, physical abuse, mental abuse, all the lingering side effects and traumatic experiences that add up and will now most likely last her a lifetime, allegedly.
Not on sexual conduct like this. There is no limitations anymore. You can thank Biden for that. Biden changed all the rules. So Biden changed all the rules and made it to where you can't have NDAs about this shit. That only applies to things that went down after he signed the bill into law.
Yeah. So this was sorry guys, real quick, the timeline for this whole case, like the court document itself, that I believe I said earlier, mentions the timeline for all this was her entire tenure from 2019 to early 2023 when all this NDA shit started going down. So you're looking at roughly a 3.5, possibly 4-year period. So statutes don't apply there. Go ahead.
Let me grab this really quick. Project Cambrian, the WWE deal coming to Netflix timing is suddenly its own factor here. That is why when Slim Jim pulled out, I want to tell you something. Macho Man Randy Savage reached out from the grave and said, Vince, I'm going to give it to you. Snap into this, motherfucker. And I'm not shitting you, Slim Jim left. And as soon as Slim Jim left, everything threatened to domino, and Vince said, I resign.
And then Slim Jim came back.
As soon as he signed, Slim Jim said, okay, we're back in. Macho Man Randy Savage had the last word here. And he was never welcomed back. Vince welcomed everyone else back. Vince blamed Macho Man because he told Randy, he said, you're never going to wrestle again. I want you to be a commentator. I want you to sit here next to whoever and be my color commentator next to me, next to this person, blah, 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 blah. Because of your voice and who you are, you're going to be huge. Mm-hmm. And he hated it. Randy wanted back in the ring. Randy wanted to wrestle. And Vince said, no, you're too old. You're never getting in the ring again. And Macho left, and he took Slim Jim with him. I want to tell you something, because this is something not a lot of people know about. Macho Man was signed at WCW for $750,000. Guess how much Slim Jim brought to WCW? Guess how much the contract was for the sponsorship?
$34 million.
No. $750,000.
Yeah.
That's what the Slim Jim contract gave WCW for their first year. Mm-hmm. That is what they signed Macho Man Randy Savage for his first year. Eric Bischoff got Macho Man for free.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a bargain deal.
And Macho Man knew that. Macho Man knew what the deal was with Slim Jim, and Macho Man knew what the deal was with this contract. Mm-hmm. So Macho Man came into WCW and said, oh, yeah, Vince, you don't want me to wrestle? Well, guess what? I'll wrestle for free as long as I get to wrestle. Mm-hmm. So he left basically for free, and Vince never let him come back.
Yeah.
It is insane that the reason why this happened so quickly is because of Slim Jim. Bear
crazy.
Beard Whiskers with $10 super chat. Thank you, my friend. It's very common in Hollywood modeling, singing, how you get gigs. You go to the parties, you get hooked with drug fun. My friend left Hollywood because he was offered his own show if he had had a foursome. So my first year of college, I took acting and drama. I loved comedy. I loved improv. Something you've been here from me in Mike's shows, been here from me in Zero's show. A lot of what we do is improv. I love improv. I got out of drama after my first year. I don't even think I did a whole year. I think I did a semester and that was it. And I checked out and I changed my major. Why did I do that? Because of certain things that were going on behind the scenes, how you got parts. The teacher we had was on that level. So the professor that we had was on that level. And I was done. I was out. So
No, you don't need to subject yourself to that. Yeah, so
I didn't even have to go to Hollywood. I didn't even have to go to Hollywood. That was happening here in Texas. So and it was one of the better acting schools. It was one of the better drama departments in the state. So I was done. I was out. So yeah, I get it. I saw it.
yeah,
I'm not, getting on my knees for a part. It's just not happening. You
Good
do
God,
want
no.
talent, but that doesn't matter with these people. The talent doesn't matter. I wish it did. It just doesn't work that way anymore. Wrestling as a whole is in dire straits. I agree. Triple H, Tony Khan, Scott D'Amore, booking and creative inputs are trash. Catering to indie marks and Wokoso activities. I agree with that. Activists, not activities. Sorry, Christopher Dominguez. No, I agree with all that. I don't watch it. You have to understand something, guys. When WCW was purchased by the WWE, I checked out. There's a lot of stuff that's happened with. I can't believe they made it past the coof because I saw the fact that they didn't have anybody in the arenas. They had little TV screens.
Yeah, they constructed that specifically to, have some semblance of reality there. But I knew they were going to survive, because they've got the billions and billions to do so.
And that the crowd chants and all of that were all piped in. And I'm just like, this is I was like, this is dead. This is a dead business. If this continues, this is dead. Yeah, I was too tall for the casting couch.
But here we are.
But the fact that they just had the Royal Rumble and it was one of the most successful pay-per-views they've had, maybe that's coming off of this. Maybe it's not. Maybe it brought some people back. It's not going to bring me back. I love the old stuff. I love the Attitude Era. I love the WCW NWO era. I love the 80s era. Hulkamaniacs running wild left and right. All my little warriors out there kicking ass and taking names. The Undertaker. That first SummerSlam when the Undertaker showed up. All that stuff. I absolutely love.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned the Attitude Era because it's like, oh, the Attitude Era was the greatest, and oh man, it was the greatest of all time. When I look back at stuff like that, and I promise I do have a point to this. I'm not going off topic. When I look back on that, it was the characters that made it. Was the Attitude Era great? Yes, it was. There were a lot of great matches that took place. The personalities were over the top and great. That's when you had Stone Cold and Rock and Mankind, Undertaker, Triple H, all those people coming out there. But at the same time, there was a lot of crap. Sorry, poor choice of words. There was a lot of garbage that existed during the Attitude Era too. Some of the storylines were crap. Some of the storylines were stupid. I mean, even as a teenage boy back then, did I want to see ladies wrestling in swimming pools of chocolate pudding and shit like that? No, I didn't. I wanted to see him get in there and
Really?
fight. No, I just wasn't into it. I wasn't into it. But my whole point of this.
You don't remember those tag team sisters that had like the brown bags over their head in what was it? Glow? Was it Glow?
Oh good God. I never
Glorious
watched
Ladies
Glow.
of Wrestling.
Yeah.
Those two chicks with two bags over their head. You didn't like the girls in the swimsuits and
No, I never watched Glow.
maybe I was just a horny kid. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, you had people like China doing Playboy and Sable doing Playboy and stuff like that, and that would be a story for another time too. But that was the time period back then, and I mentioned that whole entire thing because it goes back to what we were saying earlier about McMahon's history of behavior in this kind of thing. So, I mean, if he's surrounding himself, if his whole company during today would be the most financially successful time period in wrestling history. But back then, the boom period of the Attitude Era, when everything was taken off, if he's surrounding the entire foundation of his company over the quote attitudes and all the over the top kind of shit going on and the humor that he often put out there because he himself found things humorous. I mean, we all remember, maybe not all of us, but I remember, when he had Trish Stratus in the ring on all fours barking like a dog with the janitorial slop bucket next to her face. So you got to think, if everybody out there is being themselves with their personalities cranked up to 19 or 20 on the volume dial, if this is the humor he finds funny, and again, not that I'm jumping to conclusions one way or the other here, but if this is the humor that he surrounds himself with and he finds entertaining, it's not a far stretch of the imagination to think some of these allegations could be legitimate, could be true. Now, he has said in his statement, he has not since publicly spoken on anything, but in his written statement, he said that the claims were heavily falsified and fabricated and full of lies and stuff like that. He's not flat out denying that this shit took place. We already know he had inappropriate relations.
That's multiple women.
Yeah.
We know from back when he was married.
Yeah. So I mean, that's
shit was going on.
I mean, that's not in question.
That's another thing. You want to talk about attitudes turned up and dialed up to 19. The shit that happened, the shit that made D-Generation X, his wife was constantly against. So Vince's wife was constantly telling them, you have to stop getting them to do this shit. They can't go down to the ring and do this. They can't go down and say this. And he was the one that was like, all right, boys, you've got to start acting right. Wink, wink, wink. Sean, you can't do this. Wink, wink, wink. Triple H, you can't, blah, 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 blah. Wink, wink, wink. And then they go down and do it anyway. And he'd be like, I told them not to.
Yeah. So, I mean, so realistically, you got to think if that humor is out there. And again, I've always believed you can't judge a time period fully if you haven't lived it. So, I mean, but not that I would use that as a defense mechanism because, me and every teenage boy, every man, woman, and child who was around back then, who enjoyed that content, who enjoyed that product on TV.
Oh, man. Well, sorry.
Anyway, so yeah, it was all out there and the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, that shit was exploding back then. But so yeah, to go back to the whole thing, when you think about the humor that was around back then and all the graphic stuff that was going around on TV and, you've got McMahon at the helm steering that ship. If that's the kind of stuff he surrounds himself with professionally, who's to say what went on behind the scenes, whether it's true or not? It's not that far stretch of the imagination to think, yeah, maybe some of that could took place. And that's why I hope, again, from a completely unbiased standpoint, that's why I hope whatever did happen is brought to light. Things are taken care of as they should be. And I hope that whatever the outcome is, people learn something from it. The justification will be dealt and things will pan out as they should. So, I mean, it's again, guys, we could ramble on about this forever because there's a lot to unpack here. But basically, it's I recommend if you're curious about the court document, go look it up for yourself because it takes a while to process
Send me the link
that
and I'll
whole
throw
thing.
the link in the chat. Just
All
private chat me because it won't let you send the link. It won't let anybody but mods and me send the link.
Yeah,
So
I'll
I'll just make you a mod.
We'll throw that up there. Hold on, while I get that all situated. That will come from where's our source? So we'll take this source from the Wall Street Journal here.
Yep.
Oh, wait a minute. All right. Sorry, I've never done tech stuff live before.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
All right. So it's been privated. But if anyone doesn't have access to the live chat right now, you can Google this anytime. Wall Street Journal has it up there. Any major news front line will have it up there. If you're curious, it is quite the read. It is shocking. It is graphic. So again, viewer discretion is advised if you're squeamish about any of that stuff or sensitive to that type of exploitive material. Just a heads up, folks. But yeah, it's out there.
Jury trial demanded. Jury trial demanded. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's
And
there's
one thing I want to bring up because I really want to get this out there. This is something that I haven't heard anybody talking about. Jerry McDivitt got Vince out of every single horrible lawsuit, claim, whatever he has faced in the last 40 years. The steroid abuse cases, the Hulk Hogan case, the Bret Hart contract case. Mm-hmm. He has always had Jerry there to go, I've got him.
Yeah.
He gets rid of problems like you.
Would Jerry have been his legal representative during the whole Jimmy Snuka thing back in the 80s?
Yes. Jerry is gone. Jerry is retired. I highly doubt, and I could be wrong. You could come back 2 days from now and go, Jerry's taking the case, but Jerry is older than Vince, and Vince is almost 80.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
Okay? I highly doubt Jerry can come in and do this. I could be wrong. He might have an entire team of badasses behind him that may be able to come in and do this. But I highly doubt it. It's not going to be the same guy that's gotten Vince out of every single horrible thing Vince has ever done. Mm-hmm. We know about the steroid abuse. We know that the wrestlers were getting steroids. We know that Vince knew the wrestlers were getting steroids. We know Hulk Hogan came in and said, yeah, Vince knew. And it still didn't take him down because of Jerry. Jerry was his shield. He was his protector in the legal circuit. I highly doubt he is going to come out of retirement. And even if he did, yeah, Vince did the roids with him. Yes, he did. Even if he did, it's not going to be the same guy. It's not going to be the guy that constantly got Vince out of trouble. So it's only time's going to tell. We will see.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that we are going to see court action, legal action from a criminal case? I do.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to stay civil. I think the civil part of this is her getting tens of millions of dollars out of the WWE, out of TKO, and out of Vince. Mm-hmm. And I people can say whatever they want to. Right now, you've got The Rock, who is now chairman of TKO Sports.
He's a member of the board.
He's a member of the board. Sorry,
but he very well could grow to be the face of WWE if they want, you know,
I think he
poster boy.
If you listen to what Triple H said the other day, how he can deal with The Rock, and I don't mean deal with him as in I can get whatever I want. I mean, he's like, I can send him shorthand and he knows exactly what I'm talking about. We can be on the phone for 2 minutes and I can be like, bro, I need this. And it's going to get done. They can shorthand between each other and they know exactly what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That, I believe, is beautiful business.
Yep.
You can say whatever you want about Triple H and Stephanie and bringing woke to the WWE and yada, 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 yada. But when you have two people that can get on the phone and go, hey, blah, 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 okay, blah, 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 and you're done, instead of, this is my proposal, this is how I want to implement it, blah, 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 blah. It's so much easier to run and gun. That is the business relationship I have with Mike. If there's something business related, I can call him and in 2 minutes we've got it worked out. That is usually not the majority of our phone calls. Usually the majority of me and Mike's phone calls are back and forth. But if it's a business related problem, boom, 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 done. Fixed.
Yeah.
Finito. So that I have hope for the business for. I hope Rock can put some shit into line for them. As for Vince, this is it. And people can say over and over and over again, people have said that before, and he's gotten out of it, and da-da-da-da-da. Not if this goes to court.
Yeah.
Because if half of what's in that 67 page, if half of it, if a quarter of it, just take the least offensive things in a quarter of that document, he's going to go to jail.
Yeah.
Unless he shows up in a wheelchair with a little knitted blanket and he's like, I don't know where I am. I don't know who you are. Maybe they'll believe that and put him in like a home or something. But his life's over.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that his life's over. If even a quarter of that shit is true, it's done.
And again, the whole other half of that equation, even, you know, regardless of what happens to Vince, if it goes through an entire legal process, the other part of their problem is the quote negligent company that allowed all this shit to happen in the first place. All the high-ranking officials that heard what was going on in the locked offices and through the walls and shit like that. And they did nothing to stop it. You know, then they'll be investigated for negligent behavior and allowing employees to come under harm and, you know, being exploited and shit like that. So, I mean, it's a whole, we'll see if it comes to that. Cause there's a lot of counts of misconduct that are going on in that document. There's a lot to unpack. So again, I recommend, if you're curious, check it out for yourself. Come to whatever conclusion you want. I'm obviously curious to see how this is all going to pan out. I know it's not looking good regardless of the outcome, because this whole process is going to be a burden on everybody involved. Some of it deservedly so. Others, who knows, but it's going to be a process, and we're all just basically going to have to wait and see and get drip fed the information as it comes out. So we'll know at the same time as everybody else.
We will keep you updated. Zero and I are watching this very closely, and we will keep you updated on this show on Mondays. You have our word. I'm not going to break this with anybody else. I don't care what day it is. I don't care, you know, if it's a Friday or a Thursday or whatever. This is the show you will hear it on, is on 0 Hour. So we will get to Monday Night Wars, because obviously we are very excited about that. I'm very excited about that. Styling and profiling, limousine riding, jet flying women, and woo!
And the jabroni eating, pie eating, trail blazing, eyebrow raising, hit it strong, hit it fast for the Rock, lay the smack down on that candy ass.
What?
We'll try to end this on a high note, guys. But again, disclaimer, if you or anyone you know has dealt with anything like this and they need help, please try to find them the support they need. If you need the support, then go seek out, your local shelters, your local guidance, anything you got to do. But to end it on a good note, Monday Night War is coming up at some point. We'll keep you posted on when. But I just want to say a really big, quick thank you to everyone who stuck it out with us in chat this morning. I know it's a very sensitive topic.
Over 50 people. Thank you.
You ladies and gentlemen are all awesome. So give yourselves a big self high five. And we'll be back next week. So Loki, take us out.
Guys, we've got Makini Draws coming up after this. He is going to be talking about, he's going to rant this morning, first thing this morning, about the horrible injustice that was done to Kevin Conroy and the Batman. What they've done to our hero is it's maddening. And people are saying, oh, well, he knew. Not necessarily, folks. Not necessarily, because multiple actors that were contacted from DC to do this said they had no idea. They just called, offered a job, and if he trusted them to do right, they didn't. And he just said, yeah, I'll do it. Well, now we know why, and it is a disgrace. So, guys, please take care. Be excellent to each other. Always speak friend to enter, and check out Makini's stream coming up next. It's live on the Morning Block. Have a great one, everybody.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.